Hey guys, welcome to Channel 2S, your home for Gunpla news, reviews, and more. I'm your host, Second Soundwave. So in my last week of absence, we've actually had a bunch of really cool new Gunpla stuff pop up. We've seen some new pictures of some kits we've known about, we've seen some better pictures of some kits, we've seen some box art, and we've even seen some new stuff. So, let's just dive right in. I'm going to go over some of the stuff really quickly because there's a lot to cover, but some of this I'll also go into a little more detail because there's some stuff here that really has me excited. So let's just dive right in. First off, there's just one thing that we absolutely got to talk about, and that is the Gundam Build Fighters teaser. So the actual teaser video itself that was released on, I believe it was May 5th or May 7th. It was May 7th. It was released on May 7th, Sunday, and the teaser video itself was super lame. It was literally just a bunch of clips from the existing Build Fighters animations, so nothing new there. However, they did accompany it with a new image that showed the first two model kits from the new Gundam Build Fighters project. So the first one is the Ninja Pulse Gundam. Now this is a tentative name, this is not going to be the final name for the kit, but it looks super freaking awesome. Now, from what I've heard, this OVA is going to be kind of a closer sequel to Gundam Build Fighters than to Gundam Build Fighters Tri, so it's going to have a lot of the original characters like Sei and Reiji. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be Neil's new mobile suit. It does have a lot of similarities to the Sengoku Astray, so that's certainly pretty cool. I really like this design, actually. The dark red and black kind of reminds me of the Gundam Epion, and the kind of translucent green spiky bits on his arms and wings really help drive that home. I also just like the Impulse Gundam's design in general, and I don't think I ever... No, I didn't actually ever pick up the high-grade Cosmic Era Force Impulse, so I'm definitely going to grab one of these, because that just looks freaking awesome. And then the second kit they showed off is significantly less awesome. So, Dan the Plastic Man and I, a couple weeks ago, were talking about things we might see at Shizuoka, and I jokingly mentioned we might get a Super Gyanko. Well, we're not getting a Super Gyanko. We're getting a Super China, or Chinagguy, as they're calling it. Now, this is a very similar concept to Super Fumina. It's basically China kind of cosplaying as a bear guy, and it looks really dumb. However, it doesn't look quite as creepy as Fumina did. I think they've really improved their kind of human sculpting at Bandai Hobbies, so that's definitely a good thing. This looks more in line with the figurized standard stuff and less like the weird, creepy, dead-eyed Super Fumina that we got, so that's certainly good to see, even if the kit itself isn't really something that I'm even remotely interested in. So, speaking of things I'm not really interested in, we did get final box art for the next figurized bust, which is, of course, the second bust of Fumina, and then also the box art for the two Petite guys with the signs. So we got the red one, or kind of reddish-brown, I guess, kind of rust-colored, and the primer gray one. Pretty much the same box, two different kits. You usually know what a Petite Guy box looks like by now. Moving on. So we finally have like an actual good high-resolution picture of the box art for the Ground Gundam S-Type. Looks pretty awesome. However, I'm not going to be picking one of these up because it looks like it's going back to the old Gundam Thunderbolt body build, which is not nearly as good as the Atlas Gundam. So, while this guy does look kind of neat, I really wasn't wowed by the older Thunderbolt kit, so I'm probably not going to be picking this one up. Then we got some new pictures of the Astaroth Rinascimento, and he's looking pretty awesome here. We can see him from the front, all armed up. He's got his rifle at his hip, he's got his big punching thing, and he has this big blue thing attached to his arm, and up until now we weren't really sure what this was. It looked like it was just some kind of shield, but apparently, when you fold it out, it's actually kind of an extra sub-arm, so that's certainly pretty interesting. It looks like you could maybe stick some kind of weapons in there, use it as an extra arm. Certainly improves the posing options with this guy, so that's pretty awesome. And also in the realm of IBO, we have the completely unpainted snap-built Nengeki Hobby pictures for the Gundam Dantalion. And I guess this guy's pretty cool. I'm not super into this design, but it's a pretty neat looking Gundam. I like that kind of white and gray combination he has going on in the shoulders. I think the half cowl looks a little silly now that I see it unpainted. It did look cool before, but now that I see it on the final kit, it's not quite as cool looking as I originally thought it was, and I'm probably going to end up passing on this. The only other thing I really see of note that's really worth mentioning at this point is that he does seem to be able to hold weapons in the half-cowl hands, and I'm guessing that's just by the friction of the fingers, because it doesn't look like there's any kind of tab on the sword. But maybe there is. We'll have to see when that comes out. Now moving on to a kit that I actually am really excited to see, the Efreet Schneid High-Grade Universal Sentry. We got some more pictures of this. It's looking pretty awesome as usual. I really like the detail on this. It's not quite as detailed as the Efreet Kai Re 100 kit we got, but it does still have a lot of panel lines and stuff on it. I'm not super fond of the knives. First of all, I strongly doubt they're going to have that level of color separation. And second of all, they're kind of blunt. They have a bit of a butter knife look to them. Fortunately, that's something that you can fix by just kind of sanding or shaving away at them. You can kind of sharpen them to a point, but I think it just makes him look a little bit silly right out of the box. But again, it's an easy thing to fix. Also, he looks like he has these really cool kind of translucent energized blades that look really awesome. They're in translucent orange, and I'm really glad they included those. In fact, it looks like pretty much the only thing he's missing is the bazooka that came with the Re 100, but that's not really that big a deal since it's a pretty generic Xeon bazooka. And I believe there's actually a bunch of other kits that use it as well, so you could just cannibalize it from one of those, and you're pretty much having a complete Efreet Schneid. And then we're going to move away from the Bandai news for a moment and talk about Dragon Momoko. Now, DM very recently announced that they were making a Testament Gundam. Now, for those not familiar, the Testament Gundam is this pretty obscure mobile suit from the far edges of the Gundam Seed Astray universe, so it's definitely out there and not something you'd typically expect to see a master grade of, but DM decided to make it, and they showed off the resin prototype a little while ago, and it looked really cool, and we finally have pictures of it in color, and it is red. And that's very good to see because I believe the Testament Gundam has 2 or 3 different color schemes in the source material, and I'm really glad they went with the red colors because I like how this guy looks in red. I actually liked how it looked in red when they did the Robot Damashi figure of this guy, so I'm really happy to see they went with that color scheme since it looks really good and it really helps make the design pop. I also want to make special mention of this guy's weapons because he has these really cool looking revolvers that actually revolve. If you look down into like the bottom left corner of this picture right here, you can see that there's actually quite a few moving parts on the revolvers as indicated by those little yellow arrows, so that's going to be pretty awesome once this guy's all together. And now shifting back into the Bandai news, there is one more announcement I feel I really do have to talk about. Now I'm not going to build up to this too much, I'm not going to hype it up at all because this is something they mentioned like, 4 or 5 days ago? And that's the real grade Unicorn. Yes, that's right, the next real grade kit we're getting is the Unicorn Gundam. I guess it kind of makes sense since they did just do the Chinagguy not that long ago. But I was really hoping they wouldn't do this. It's the Unicorn Gundam. If you're familiar with the Master Grade, you know why that's a problem. If you've built the Master Grade, you definitely know why a real grade Unicorn would be problematic. Granted, the Master Grade is fairly old in its defense. I believe it was like 2008, 2009 that kit originally came out in its Verkov form. So it is a pretty old model. However, the real grade is a lot smaller than the Master Grade, so whatever they did on that Master Grade, they got to make it smaller, and they got to somehow incorporate a pre-built inner frame. Now, how they're going to do that exactly, I don't know. Maybe they're going to have clear parts of the Psycho frame kind of inserted into the inner frame, kind of like the way they mixed white and red parts for the Astrays frame. In fact, I think that's pretty likely. I would not be surprised if I saw that. Now, will they have transformation sections built into the frame, you know, little fold-out and fold-in areas for the armor to attach to? Maybe. I'm kind of hoping they don't because real grade Zeta Gundam, and that was a mistake. And speaking of the real grade Zeta, that's the reason that I'm really worried about this kit because the thing with the real grade Zeta Gundam is even when we saw pictures of it, and I guess this goes for the Chinagguy as well, even when we first saw like the original convention pictures and the Dengeki Hobby kind of snap build pictures and the official images, it looked great. And really all the real grades look great. However, especially with the Zeta Gundam, especially with the Chinagguy, and to a lesser extent with some of the other real grade kits, when you get them in hand, you realize they're not that great. They got lots of big structural issues, and those don't really rear their head until you've actually built the kit. And that's why even after we see this thing at Shizuoka, I'm still going to be really wary of it, because no matter how good it looks, it still has a very high likelihood of being an absolute disaster. And that's really all I can say about it. It's not something I'm looking forward to at all. However, I would be lying if I said I wasn't just a little bit curious to see how they try and pull this off. And I also kind of want to see just how big of a disaster it ends up being. But anyways, that's all the quote-unquote news for tonight. It wasn't really news. Most of this stuff's fairly old. It's just that I've been away for a week. I wanted to talk about some of this stuff so it's not piling up on top of the Shizuoka news, because that's happening in like, what, 3-4 days? It's right on top of us, guys, so Shizuoka's coming very soon. So that's about it for tonight, guys. So thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video, and thank you for being patient and waiting through my last week of total absence and the other, 2 weeks before the Atlas Gundam where I was just completely silent and did nothing. I really have been trying to get this channel back onto a daily schedule, but it's a slow process, but I'm hopefully getting there. So I'll be back for Shizuoka. I don't know if I'll be back again before Shizuoka. I'd like to try and get back before Shizuoka. I do have some stuff that I want to build here on this channel, so hopefully I'll be able to come back with that tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. If this is your first time on Channel 2S, be sure to subscribe for more Gunpla news, reviews, and more. And as always, I'm your host, Second Soundwave, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.